Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials, here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to bring more clarity to the concept of exhaustion. Have you noticed it's pretty prevalent today? Almost everybody says, man, everybody's so exhausted. And we talk about the pace of life and technology and how we're kind of on call 24/7. And all of those things are true. And all of those things can be more exhausting than the past when that wasn't the case. And yet one of the things I like to do is make sure I'm dealing with the cause that I can do something about. If I can't change technology or the pace of life or all that stuff, I want to make sure I'm defining the problem in a way where I can make a difference in my experience of life. So one of the things I like to do in terms of defining any problem in terms of how I can make a difference in my experience of life has to do with how the brain processes information. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, we've got these 3 parts of the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem, fight or flight part. Upper 80% is what I call the top of the mind. That's the neocortex. That's where you have access to our interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, etc. It's where we make our best decisions. Middle brain, however, it's the limbic system. This is the part of the brain that acts as a scanner, a processor, or a router. It scans incoming data, processes it or interprets it, and then either routes it down to the brainstem or up to the upper 80% of the brain. And each one of those routings trigger a different chemical reaction. So when the limbic system perceives anything as negative, and unfortunately it has a tendency to see anything negative as dangerous, because it still thinks we're dealing with saber-toothed tigers, it throws us into that lower part of the brain that's designed to deal with fight or flight. That triggers adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. The job of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol is to put us in a fight or flight mode. So we get tense, we get ready to react either way. So that tension and that kind of alertness and that onness is something that if we're not careful, we'll carry throughout the day. You know, if we wake up in the morning and we go, oh man, I got this thing I got to do at work or at school, or somebody triggers us at traffic, or we get to work or school and something happens, we're in that lower brain, we're producing adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. If we're not careful, we'll just keep producing that all day long. And frankly, that's what really exhausts us, because it's not designed to be that way. It's designed, if we're dealing with a fight or flight situation, to deal with it and then calm down. Go back to what's called homeostasis. We've got these 2 systems in our body, the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is designed to put us into fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system is designed to bring us back to normal once we've dealt with the fight or flight situation. But the problem is when we get triggered over and over and over and over during the day based on this middle brain interpreting some situation as dangerous and throwing us into that part of the brain and triggering our tension and catching our breath and having us kind of bring that tension to everything we do, that is what exhausts us. Now, in my humble opinion, creating the life we want isn't about what we're stopping, it's about what we're starting. So what I like to do is show people that when they get to this upper 80% of the brain, what I call the top of the mind, the neocortex, and we're feeling more purposeful, more relaxed, more calm, more confident, more in control, we're actually triggering different chemicals. We're triggering serotonin and endorphins. These are the chemicals that help us think clear and feel better. And what it does, it allows us to deal with whatever situation we're dealing with, which generally isn't a fight or flight situation, just some trigger situation, in a way that is more purposeful, in a way that's more effective, in a way that we would teach to someone we love. And this is what I do. I get to go around the world teaching people a method, a philosophy, a framework for how to actually shift to this upper 80% of the brain, change the chemical makeup of our body from adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol to serotonin and endorphins, how to stay there, and how to bring other people, when you're dealing with them, how to get them to shift from their resistant brain to their receptive brain. I also talk about how it's important not to just kind of go through the day and wait until we're triggered. We want to start the day and ask the question, okay, as I go into the morning, as I deal with my family or drive to work or go to school or whatever I'm doing this morning, what are the qualities and characteristics I want to bring to this experience? And if we can imagine going into the morning being clear, confident, creative, compassionate, kind, whatever, excited even, then we're bringing serotonin and endorphin to the situation. We don't get as exhausted. Then if we reboot around lunchtime, stop, do some deep breathing, take a walk outside, just kind of go to a quiet place for just a moment, 10, 15, 20 seconds, doesn't take that long, and ask that question, how do I want to be this afternoon? What are the qualities and characteristics I want to bring to just the afternoon? And go into the afternoon in this upper 80% of the brain, triggering serotonin and endorphins instead of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, that we don't get exhausted by the end of the day. Now, of course, it is important if we're driving home or going to be with the people that matter the most in our life, we reboot right before we get there as well. How do I want to be with my family? How do I want to be with my kids or my parents or my relationship partner? How do I want to be with myself this evening, So we go into the evening clear about the qualities and characteristics we want to bring. Again, we're coming from this upper 80% of the brain and we don't become as exhausted. So it's true, life is more challenging these days. It's a faster pace. We're dealing with technology. We're dealing with things we didn't deal with before. And given that we can't just change all that so that we don't have to deal with it, let's change the things we can. Let's make sure we're not dumping adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol into our body all day long and tensing us out and exhausting us from that tension, but instead triggering serotonin and endorphins, plus coming from the part of the brain where we make better decisions, engage with people more successfully, etc., etc. If this is something you'd like to learn, this is what I do. I get to go around the world teaching people how to engage this clear, confident, creative part of who we are, trigger that serotonin and endorphins on a regular basis. I call it life from the top of the mind. If you would like me to come to your organization, your school, your church, do this for you, all you got to do is go to my website, BillCrawfordPhD.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. If you're enjoying these videos, please hit the like button. You know how Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, all these folks love it when you like it. Share it with your friends if you find it valuable. Help me spread the word so that we can get other people to understand how to bring their best to life and actually influence their experience of life by influencing what part of the brain they're in. So, until next time, here's to you. Bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.